Direct from the Six, world-renowned, Canada's largest city, with Canada's biggest thinkers, visionaries, and hustlers. This is Startup Talk, featuring the founders, funders, innovators, and community leaders who've led Canada's startup ecosystem right here in Toronto. You'll hear the challenges, the failures, the successes. Toronto's Startup Podcast gives you the full story direct from the entrepreneurs and influencers who've made a difference. Now, the host of Startup Talk, the founder of TorontoStarts, the Startup Coach.
You were saying that there is some regulatory information around the startup's burden on getting funding that maybe people didn't really understand before. Did you want to clarify that?
Yeah, certainly. So just to add a bit further clarity.
Thank you.
My company is licensed as a private securities dealer. So we operate in the capital raising space, which is regulated by the Ontario Securities Commission in Ontario. Every province in Canada has its own regulatory body that regulates securities. So even though you as a startup might not be in a regulated industry, you might not have to get approval for whatever your product is from a regulator, by being a private company and going out and raising capital from investors, operating in a regulated space, which is the buying and selling of investments. So the regulated space covers all companies, both public companies on the stock market and private companies. So private companies still do have regulations they have to follow when having investors come on and actually invest in the company. Or not the change, but the clarification that I was mentioning to Craig is that as a startup, you're able to raise capital from accredited investors, also called angel investors, and of course from friends and family. And when you're raising capital from those individuals, there's some additional forms that they have to sign. There's certain forms for friends and family, certain risk disclosures for them. And of course, there's certain risk disclosures for the angel investors. And your legal counsel will often help you prepare that. Of course, if you're working with Equivesto, we include all of the required documentation inside our investment portal. The piece of important information is typically, startups will just have the investor sign that sort of accredited investor risk declaration and use that document as proof that the angel investor is actually accredited. And Equivesto as a platform, we actually go a couple steps further than that. So when an angel investor or accredited investor is coming on our platform, we're actually getting the personal financial documents from that individual to verify them as accredited. That's sort of T4's CRA notice of assessment from the income perspective, or bank statements or other things like that from the assets perspective to qualify them as accredited. And just as a recap, accredited investor is 200,000 in annual income, or 300,000 combined with a spouse, or over $1 million in net financial assets, excluding real estate, or over $5 million, in net worth, which would include real estate. So that's the definition of accredited. All angel investors have to be accredited, of course. And those are the investors that you can take on. So we as a platform have been verifying that, but most startups don't verify that, right? They just get them to sign the right forms and they take the funding in. And I was able to confirm with the Ontario Securities Commission, actually just last week, I was speaking to them in person, they confirmed that it is on the startups or the startups legal counsel to actually collect those same personal financial documents from their investors to verify that. So right when you're going out to that person saying, please, invest $50,000 in my business, give me that $50,000 check, you then have to turn around and say, oh, you know what? To actually take that check from you, you also have to show me your personal bank statements. And I know for a lot of companies that is not something that they've been doing, and that's something that creates a lot of awkwardness potentially in the relationship. The challenge being, if you're not collecting those materials, there is a chance, however slight, that if the investor decided that they didn't like the investment they made and they wanted their money back, they could go to the regulators and complain that you didn't verify that they were actually accredited. And so the investment wasn't suitable for them. And then you as the company, however long it's been, even if it's been 2-3 years down the line, you would be liable to repay their full investment amount. So that's something that I recently confirmed with the regulators. Bit of a change from the way the industry's been sort of operating up to this point. But that's something that Equivesto already does in our process. We're already collecting and verifying those things as a licensed third party, and we do that as a service for companies. So it is something that we already do as a business, but was certainly something that a lot of companies don't realize is required for them to do themselves when going out and raising funds from angel investors.
So I want to say thank you, Alex, for taking the time. You want to tell us again what you and Equivesto do and what are all the resources over there at Equivesto people should go check out?
Yeah, absolutely. So Equivesto is an exempt market dealer and an online investment portal for Canadian small businesses, startups, private funds looking to raise capital from Canadian resident investors. So if you are looking to do an angel round and you want a place where somebody's done a bit of due diligence into you already, they'd help you structure your whole round, plan out the valuation, got all the right legal documents, and they provide a digital location for you to actually go ahead and transact. Certainly come check out what we're doing at equivesto.com. We also have a really robust learning center. So a ton of what we talked about here already is in our learning center. We also have a bunch of courses for free in our learning center on investor readiness. What are investors looking for from you? All this sort of information is there. It's totally free. A lot of it is webinars that we created with Craig. So feel free to go and consume some of that information. We want to try to help make capital raising easier and more rewarding for all Canadian companies.
This has been Startup Talk, Toronto's startup podcast. For more exclusive content, the episode vault, and to be part of TorontoStarts community, visit TorontoStarts.com. Get your name on the newsletter mailing list and check out our upcoming events. For more episodes, subscribe now. And please recognize the time and work behind the scenes put into connecting you with the biggest visionaries, entrepreneurs, and innovators in Toronto by leaving a 5-star review. Join us for more next episode from Toronto's most active entrepreneur and startup community on Startup Talk.